Welcome to another deep dive.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Today we're using the Encyclopedia of World Religions as our guide.
They're classic.
We're going to uncover some surprising facts and see how people throughout history have sought answers to life's big questions.
It's a journey that takes us from ancient burial rituals to complex philosophies, from the power of ritual to those incredible mystical experiences you mentioned.
Right.
It's really about understanding the human search for meaning, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. You know, when we think about the study of religion, it's easy to picture dusty old books and theological debates.
Oh, yeah.
But this encyclopedia highlights how the study of religion itself has evolved,
It's true.
like way back in the 18th century.
Yeah, scholars like Charles de Brosses.
De Brosses.
Yeah, he was already challenging conventional thinking.
How so?
He dared to compare ancient Egyptian religion with cultures that existed during his time.
Whoa, really?
Can you imagine the reaction back then?
It's like comparing apples and oranges, but I guess that's how new perspectives emerge, right?
Right.
Seeing connections where others see only differences.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And then you have Charles-François Dupuy, who went even further, searching for a common thread across different religions. He was particularly interested in sun worship.
Sun worship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seeing figures like Christ, Osiris, and Mithras all connected to the sun's journey.
Huh. Like he was piecing together a giant puzzle looking for those universal symbols.
Yeah.
So was this the beginning of the more scientific study of religion?
You could say that.
Okay.
In the 19th century, we have Friedrich Max Miller,
I've heard of him.
a pioneer in the field.
Okay.
He used the study of language, what we call comparative philology,
Right.
to trace the roots of religious ideas.
Interesting. So how does that work?
Well, for example, he traced the Sanskrit word dayas, meaning bright,
Okay.
and how it evolved to represent the sky, and eventually led to the concept of a sky god.
Wow. So by understanding how language changes, we can actually uncover how ancient people might have formed their beliefs. But I imagine not every theory from that era has stood the test of time.
Of course not. Some, like Wilhelm Schmidt's theory of primitive monotheism.
What's that?
Oh, the idea that all religions started with the belief in one god,
Okay.
have been largely discredited.
So a dead end.
It's a reminder that our understanding of religion is constantly evolving.
It's like a deep dive within a deep dive.
Aha, yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about some of the big names in the study of religion.
Right.
But what about the actual origins of religious beliefs?
Yeah.
How far back can we trace those?
Well, the encyclopedia takes us back to the dawn of human culture.
No kidding.
Around 30,000 BC, in the Old Stone Age, we see evidence of burial practices. And these practices offer a window into what early humans might have believed about death.
I've always been fascinated by those ancient burial sites. It's like they're sending messages across millennia.
I know, right?
What kind of messages are we talking about here?
Oh, think about it. They were burying their dead with tools, food, even decorative objects.
Really?
Yeah, this suggests they believed death wasn't the end, but a transition to another state of existence. They were providing for their loved ones in the afterlife.
It's almost like they were trying to ensure their comfort in the next world.
Yeah,
It's a powerful testament to their beliefs.
absolutely.
And speaking of powerful, the encyclopedia also talks about the emergence of cave art in the Upper Paleolithic period. Those incredible paintings in places like Lascaux and Altamira.
Oh, yeah.
How do they connect to religion?
Many scholars believe this wasn't just art for art's sake. Some theorize it was connected to rituals.
Rituals.
Yeah, perhaps attempts to influence the abundance of animals for hunting. Imagine a group of people gathered in a cave, flickering firelight, illuminating these incredible images, performing rituals to ensure a successful hunt.
It's like an early form of sympathetic magic, capturing the essence of the animal through art.
Right.
There's an example in the encyclopedia of a cave in France.
Okay.
The cave of the Trois Frères,
Trophy.
with a figure in a bison mask,
Oh, wow.
possibly performing a ritual. It
Fascinating.
really paints a vivid picture.
Yeah.
What happens as we move into the Neolithic period?
Mm-hmm.
Do we see a shift in how people express their beliefs?
Definitely.
How so?
We see a shift towards more settled life and agriculture.
Okay.
And this is reflected in their religious practices. The mother goddess emerges as a central figure, symbolizing fertility and the life-giving power of the earth.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
As people became more dependent on the cycles of nature for their survival, they would naturally create deities that embodied those forces. It's like projecting their hopes and fears onto the natural world.
Precise.
Makes sense.
And along with the mother goddess, we also see phallic symbols and bull imagery representing the masculine principle of fertility. This balance of male and female, this duality, seems to be a recurring theme throughout religious history.
It's fascinating how those symbols resonate across cultures and time periods.
Yeah.
What about the development of specific gods? Do we see any notable changes in how those were conceived during this period?
One fascinating development is the concept of a dying and rising god,
Hmm.
often linked to the mother goddess.
Okay.
He represents the cycle of vegetation,
Okay.
dying in winter and being reborn in spring.
Right.
This echoes the agricultural cycle that was so vital to these societies.
It's amazing how they wove these complex narratives that mirrored the natural world around them. It's like they were trying to understand the universe through storytelling.
Yeah,
But it wasn't all about nature and agriculture, right?
right.
They were making technological advancements too.
Of course.
Did that play a role in their religious beliefs?
Absolutely. As humans developed new technologies like metallurgy and writing, they integrated these into their existing beliefs.
Okay.
For instance, the discovery of yeast and the production of bread and beer. Think about how bread and wine have taken on symbolic meanings in later religions.
It's like each new discovery adds the layer to their understanding of the world and their place within it.
Definitely.
So as we move into the ancient world, do those beliefs continue to evolve along similar lines? Or do we see a significant shift?
We start to see a shift in focus,
Okay.
a gradual transition from the prominence of female deities to the rise of male gods.
Okay.
This appears to be connected to the rise of urban centers, states, and armies, a move towards more hierarchical social structures.
So as societies become more complex and male-dominated, their pantheons reflect those power dynamics. It's almost like they're projecting their social structures onto the heavens.
That's an interesting thought.
But before we dive too deeply into the ancient world,
Sure.
I'm curious about the role of religion in Africa during this period.
Okay.
What insights does the encyclopedia offer?
The encyclopedia points out a fascinating detail about African religions.
Right.
Even in those considered primitive by some,
Right.
the concept of a supreme being is prevalent, but often the worship of this supreme being isn't as prominent as the engagement with lesser gods and spirits.
That's surprising. You'd think the supreme being would be the primary focus of worship.
I know.
Why would they prioritize lesser deities?
It seems those lesser gods are seen as more directly involved in everyday life.
Yep.
They're the ones you'd appeal to for help with your crops, for protection from harm, for success in your endeavors.
Right.
The supreme being might be acknowledged, but they're often seen as more distant, less directly involved in human affairs.
It's like having a hierarchy of divine beings, each with their own area of expertise.
Exactly.
What are some other key concepts we see in African religions during this period?
The encyclopedia talks about totemism,
Okay.
the idea that individuals or groups have a special relationship with a specific animal, plant, or even object.
Like a spirit animal.
Kind of.
Okay.
This totem becomes a symbol of their identity and their connection to the spiritual world.
Interesting.
And this connection is further reinforced through elaborate initiation rites.
I've always been intrigued by those coming-of-age rituals.
Yeah.
What purpose do they serve in these cultures?
They mark the transition into adulthood
Okay.
and involve intense experiences, sometimes even physical ordeals.
No kidding.
The encyclopedia vividly describes a tooth extraction ritual.
Ouch.
It might sound brutal,
Yeah.
but it's more than just pain.
Okay.
It's about proving oneself,
Right.
enduring hardship,
So
and ultimately being accepted as a full member of the community.
it's like a rite of passage.
Yeah, these rites are about passing on knowledge, strengthening community bonds, and deepening religious experience.
It's like a trial by fire, a test of their strength and resilience.
Exactly.
Okay, let's shift gears geographically and head over to Melanesia.
Okay.
I understand they have a very unique concept called mana.
Mana. Love it.
What exactly is mana?
It's a fascinating concept.
Okay.
Imagine a force that flows through everything, people, objects, even places. This force is mana, and it represents a kind of supernatural power.
Okay.
You could gain mana through achievements, your personality, even by possessing certain objects. But it's also dangerous if not respected or controlled properly.
It's like the Force in Star Wars,
Exactly.
a power that can be used for good or evil.
Right.
So how did this concept of mana shape their beliefs and practices?
The line between religion and magic gets blurry in Melanesia.
Hmm,
They have specific types of magic for healing, love, protection, even causing harm.
really?
Yeah, it all revolves around harnessing and manipulating this mana.
It's a very practical approach to the spiritual world, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Using rituals and spells to influence events and outcomes.
Exactly.
And this concept of mana also appears in Polynesia, although with a slightly different emphasis.
It does.
Oh, really? How does it manifest in Polynesian culture?
In Polynesia, mana is more closely tied to social status.
Social status.
Yeah, chiefs and high-ranking individuals are believed to possess a great deal of mana, which is why they're surrounded by taboos.
Taboos, like restrictions on what they can do or who they can touch.
Exactly.
Interesting.
These taboos protect both the chief and the commoners from the potentially harmful effects of their mana. It's almost like a force field, setting them apart.
That's incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
Do any of the sources suggest why these taboos developed? Was it about protecting the chief's power or controlling the commoners?
It's a question worth exploring.
Yeah?
The encyclopedia doesn't delve into the specifics of why,
Oh, okay.
but it certainly raises intriguing questions about the relationship between spiritual power and social hierarchy in Polynesian society.
It really makes you think.
It does.
Okay, let's move across the Pacific now and explore the beliefs of Native American tribes.
Okay.
I've always been fascinated by their connection to nature and the cosmos.
Me too.
What insights does the encyclopedia offer on that front?
The encyclopedia highlights the profound significance of the stars and celestial cycles in Native American religions. For hunting tribes, understanding these cycles was crucial for predicting animal migrations. It was literally a matter of survival.
So the stars weren't just beautiful points of light in the sky, but a roadmap for their lives.
Exactly.
Did they develop any specific beliefs or stories around the stars?
Absolutely. They developed incredibly rich star legends. The Dakota tribe, for example, had fascinating stories about the star Aldebaran,
Aldebaran.
which they saw as a heroic figure. And for medicine men, a deep understanding of astronomy was key to their success.
Makes sense.
It helped them plan tribal activities,
Okay.
perform healing rituals, and maintain their status within the tribe.
It's like the stars provided them with a map for navigating both the physical and spiritual worlds.
I like that.
It's a beautiful way to look at it.
It is.
Now, speaking of rich cultures and belief systems, I'm eager to delve into the world of the Aztecs.
Oh, yeah.
Get ready for some dramatic myths and stories.
Oh.
Their creation myth involves a struggle between two powerful gods, Quetzalcoatl and Tezcatlipoca.
Quetzalcoatl.
Their conflict shaped the cosmos, affecting the creation of the stars and the moon.
Wow.
It's a powerful narrative that reflects their worldview.
I can imagine.
It sounds epic.
It does.
A cosmic battle with far-reaching consequences.
Absolutely.
But we can't talk about the Aztecs without acknowledging the tragic fall of their empire at the hands of the Spaniards.
Oh.
It's a story of both bravery and heartbreak.
It is.
Despite being armed with Stone Age weapons,
Right.
the Aztecs fought fiercely against the Spaniards' advanced technology.
Mm.
Their last leader, Cuauhtémoc, became a national hero for his courage and defiance,
I can see why.
a true testament to their spirit.
Absolutely.
Now, what about the Inca Empire?
Oh, yeah.
They had a vast and sophisticated civilization in the Andes Mountains.
I know it.
Did they share similar beliefs with the Aztecs?
Well, there are some parallels.
Okay.
The Inca had their own unique beliefs and practices. They believed they were destined to rule the world.
Well, really?
And their capital, Cusco,
Okay.
was considered the navel or center of the earth. Their creation myth tells of Inca Manco and his sister Mama Oclo
Okay.
searching for the sacred center,
Interesting.
using a golden wedge as a symbol of the sun's rays.
It's a powerful symbol,
Yeah,
linking their empire to the very heart of the earth.
right.
Did they also share the belief in multiple souls that we saw with the Egyptians?
Yes, they did.
Really?
They believed that the soul had different components, each with its own function and destiny.
Okay.
The Ka represented the life force, the Ba, the personality, and the glorified soul that could navigate the afterlife.
Okay.
This led to a variety of beliefs about what happened after death.
It's fascinating how different cultures grapple with those questions of life and death.
It is.
What about the ancient Mesopotamians? Did they share a similar outlook on the afterlife as the Egyptians?
Not quite. The Mesopotamians had a much more pessimistic view of the afterlife. They believed the gods created humans to serve them, but denied them immortality.
Oh, wow.
They envisioned a shadowy underworld where the dead lived a joyless existence, fading into oblivion.
It sounds bleak.
It does.
It makes you wonder how those beliefs shaped their outlook on life.
It certainly suggests a different worldview,
Yeah.
one that emphasized the fleeting nature of life and the inevitability of suffering.
It's a stark contrast to the Egyptians,
Mhm.
who invested so much in preparing for the afterlife.
Right.
Now, before we head to ancient Greece and Rome,
Okay.
let's take a quick detour to talk about a broader distinction that the Encyclopedia highlights:
Oh, okay.
Eastern versus Western religious concepts.
It's an important distinction to make.
Absolutely.
The encyclopedia points out that Eastern religions often focus on abstract concepts,
Okay.
while Western religions tend to be more personal and historically focused.
Can you give us some examples to illustrate that difference?
Sure. Think about the concept of Brahman in Hinduism. It's this ultimate, all-encompassing reality,
Okay.
difficult to grasp in concrete terms.
I see.
In contrast, Western religions often center on a personal God who interacts with humanity throughout history. Think of the stories in the Bible.
The two different lenses for viewing the divine.
Yeah.
One, vast and abstract.
Right.
The other, more personal and narrative-driven.
Exactly.
It's fascinating to see those different approaches.
Absolutely. And these different approaches shape how people understand their place in the cosmos, their relationship with the divine, and their ultimate destiny.
Okay, so with that distinction in mind, let's delve into the world of Judaism, a religion intrinsically linked to the history and identity of the Jewish people. What are some of the key concepts that set Judaism apart?
The encyclopedia emphasizes that Judaism is more than just a religion. It's the religion of a nation.
Right.
The concept of the Jews as the chosen people is central to their faith. It signifies their covenant with God.
A covenant, like a sacred agreement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this covenant comes with both responsibilities and challenges.
I see.
It shapes their relationship with God and their understanding of their place in the world.
That's a powerful concept.
It is.
Being chosen for a special purpose.
Yeah.
Does the encyclopedia delve into the specific beliefs about God within Judaism?
It does.
Right.
It outlines the 13 principles of Jewish faith.
Okay.
As formulated by Maimonides.
Maimonides.
These include belief in God's existence,
Hmm.
his unity,
Okay.
his incorporeality,
Okay.
his eternity,
Okay.
and that he alone is to be worshipped.
So they believe in a single eternal God who is not bound by physical form.
Precisely.
And what about their practices? How do those beliefs manifest in their daily lives?
One of the most important aspects of Jewish practice is the observance of the Sabbath, a day of rest and spiritual reflection.
Okay.
It's a time to acknowledge God as the creator, to disconnect from the everyday world, and to connect with something greater.
Sounds like a beautiful tradition.
It
Now, moving on to Christianity.
Okay.
We encounter a religion that emerged from Judaism but developed its own distinct identity.
Yes.
What are the core beliefs that define Christianity?
The central figure in Christianity is Jesus.
Okay.
He was Jewish.
Okay.
His teachings built on the foundation of Judaism,
Okay.
but Christianity diverged by emphasizing Jesus as the Son of God and the Messiah who came to redeem humanity from sin.
So a belief in the divinity of Jesus and his sacrificial death for the salvation of mankind.
Exactly.
It's interesting how a new religion can emerge from an existing one,
I know.
taking on its own unique set of beliefs and practices.
It is.
It speaks to the dynamism of religious belief,
Yeah.
how it evolves and adapts over time, responding to changing circumstances and evolving understandings of the divine.
Right.
And early Christians also believed in Jesus' imminent return, which shaped their worldview and their focus on living a moral life.
It did.
The expectation of an imminent end. It's a theme we see in other religious movements as well.
Yeah.
It seems to create a sense of urgency and a focus on spreading the message. Did Christianity develop its own set of rituals and sacraments?
Absolutely.
Like what?
The encyclopedia highlights two key sacraments in Christianity: baptism and the Eucharist.
And those are practices mentioned in the New Testament, right?
Exactly. Baptism is a ritual of purification,
Okay.
a symbolic washing away of sin and a welcoming into the Christian community.
Okay.
And the Eucharist,
Okay.
also known as the Lord's Supper,
Right.
involves sharing bread and wine
Okay.
that are believed to become the body and blood of Christ.
It's a powerful symbol of unity and connection with the divine sacrifice of Jesus.
It is.
A way to participate in his redemptive act and to nourish one's spiritual life.
Right.
Now, moving on from Christianity, let's explore another major world religion, that also traces its roots back to Abraham,
Okay.
Islam.
Islam.
Islam is a monotheistic religion based on the
Okay.
teachings of the Prophet Muhammad.
Right.
They believe in Allah as the one true God,
Mm-hmm.
and that Muhammad is his final prophet.
Exactly.
So it shares a common lineage with Judaism and Christianity.
It does.
Does Islam also recognize some of the same prophets?
Yes. Muslims recognize figures like Abraham, Moses, and even Jesus as prophets.
Really?
However, they consider Muhammad the final and most important prophet. And the Quran is seen as the ultimate, uncorrupted revelation from God.
And what about the key practices in Islam? What does the encyclopedia highlight in that regard?
It outlines the 5 pillars of Islam:
Okay.
declaration of faith,
Okay.
prayer, fasting,
Okay.
almsgiving,
Okay.
and pilgrimage.
Okay.
These pillars represent the core duties of every Muslim.
Okay, can we unpack those a little bit?
Sure.
Starting with the Declaration of Faith?
The Declaration of Faith emphasizes the oneness of God and the prophethood of Muhammad.
Okay.
Prayer is performed 5 times a day,
Wow.
facing Mecca. Fasting during the month of Ramadan is a time of spiritual purification and reflection. Almsgiving involves giving to the poor and needy,
Right.
and pilgrimage to Mecca is a once-in-a-lifetime duty for those who are able.
It sounds like a comprehensive system that encompasses both personal belief and communal responsibility.
Absolutely.
It's remarkable to see how these 3 religions, despite their differences,
Yeah,
share a common origin and a belief in one God.
right.
It's a testament to the interconnectedness of religious history and the enduring influence of those ancient prophetic traditions.
It really is.
Now, let's shift our focus to another major world religion with its roots in the East,
Okay.
Buddhism.
Buddhism, yeah.
I'm fascinated by Buddhism's emphasis on finding inner peace and enlightenment.
Me too.
What are some of the key concepts that distinguish Buddhism from other religions we've discussed?
Buddhism focuses on ending suffering and achieving enlightenment through the Eightfold Path.
The Eightfold Path.
It's a set of guidelines for living,
Okay.
encompassing right understanding,
Okay.
right speech,
Okay.
right action,
Okay.
right livelihood,
Okay.
right effort,
Okay.
mindfulness,
Okay.
and right concentration.
It sounds like a holistic approach to living a balanced and ethical life.
Precisely.
Okay.
And the ultimate goal in Buddhism is nirvana,
Nirvana.
a state of liberation from suffering and the cycle of birth and death. It's a state of perfect peace and freedom.
It's a compelling idea,
Yeah,
this notion of transcending suffering.
absolutely.
And how does the Buddha himself figure into Buddhist beliefs?
The Buddha serves as a guide and teacher.
Okay.
He's not seen as a god,
Right.
but as someone who achieved enlightenment and showed others the path to liberation.
Okay.
His teachings provide the framework for understanding the nature of suffering and the path to overcoming it.
It's almost like he's a beacon,
Yeah,
illuminating the path to enlightenment for others to follow.
exactly.
Now, I understand that within Buddhism, there are many different schools of thought.
Oh,
Could you tell me a bit more about Zen Buddhism?
sure.
It seems to emphasize meditation and finding truth through direct experience.
You're right. Then Buddhism focuses on intuition and direct experience over intellectual analysis. Meditation and mindfulness are central to their practices, helping them to quiet the mind and find truth within.
So it's about looking inward rather than outward for answers.
Yeah,
It's a fascinating approach.
it is.
Now let's move on to another ancient and incredibly diverse religion,
Okay.
Hinduism.
Hinduism.
It always seems so complex,
It is.
a rich tapestry of gods, beliefs, and practices.
It is.
What are some of the core concepts that we should understand about Hinduism?
Hinduism is one of the oldest religions in the world with a vast and intricate system of beliefs and practices.
Okay.
They believe in Sanatana Dharma,
Sanatana Dharma.
the eternal law or way that governs everything from the cosmos to individual lives.
Okay.
It's about understanding your place in this grand cosmic order.
It sounds like a profound concept. This idea of an eternal law that permeates everything.
Yeah.
And within Hinduism, you have key concepts like reincarnation, the soul being reborn into different forms based on its karma,
Right.
and karma being the consequences of your actions.
Precisely.
It's like a cosmic system of cause and effect,
It is.
where your actions in this life determine your destiny in the next.
Exactly.
And the goal is to eventually break free from this cycle of reincarnation and achieve moksha,
Moksha, yes.
which is liberation from suffering and union with Brahman,
Right.
the ultimate reality.
Exactly.
So like nirvana in Buddhism It's about transcending the cycle of birth and death and achieving a state of ultimate liberation.
Yeah.
But Hinduism also has a very structured social system.
Really? Traditionally, there are 4 stages of life and 4 classes of society.
Really.
Yeah, it's a system that has evolved over centuries and continues to influence Indian culture today.
It's incredibly complex and fascinating.
Yeah.
It's like a cosmic dance with all these different elements interwoven into a grand tapestry of belief and practice.
It's a beautiful way to describe it.
Now, moving on from Hinduism,
Okay.
let's explore another ancient religion that emerged in Persia, Zoroastrianism.
Zoroastrianism. It's
I
fascinating.
know a little bit about Zoroastrianism. It's the religion of fire, right?
Fire does play a significant role in their rituals,
Okay.
but it's more than that.
Okay.
Zoroastrianism is based on the teachings of the prophet Zoroaster and emphasizes a dualistic worldview.
Dualistic, like a struggle between good and evil.
Precisely.
Oh.
They believe in a cosmic battle between Ahura Mazda,
Ahura
the
Mazda.
wise lord, and Angra Mainyu,
Angra Mainyu.
the destructive spirit. Is
Okay.
a constant tension between the forces of light and darkness.
Mhm.
And humans have a role to play in this cosmic struggle.
It's a powerful concept.
It is.
This idea that our choices matter on a cosmic scale.
Absolutely.
What about their views on death and the afterlife?
They have a unique practice of exposing the dead in towers of silence,
Towers of silence.
where the bodies are consumed by vultures.
Whoa.
It's their way of returning the body to the elements and preventing the contamination of the earth.
It's quite different from anything we've discussed so far. It's fascinating how different cultures have developed such varied practices around death and dying.
I know, right?
Now, before we move on,
Sure.
I'm curious about another religion mentioned in the encyclopedia,
Okay.
Manichaeism.
Oh, yeah, Manichaeism.
I'm not familiar with that one.
It was a religion that flourished around the same time as Christianity.
Okay.
It combined elements of Christianity, Buddhism, and Gnosticism.
Gnosticism.
So-
I'm not familiar with that term either.
Gnostics believed the world was flawed, ruled by a lesser deity,
Okay.
and that the human soul was a spark of divine light trapped in this material world. Manichaeism adopted this dualistic view with a complex myth of creation and the prophet Mani as a revealer of truth.
It's remarkable how different religions can influence and merge with one another.
I know, it's fascinating, right?
It shows how fluid religious ideas can be and how they adapt to different cultural contexts.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that the human search for meaning is a constant, and the ways in which we express that search are incredibly diverse and fascinating.
It really is.
Okay, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Sure.
I want to touch on a couple more concepts that seem to transcend specific religions.
Right.
Firstly, the role of prophecy and prophets. These seem to play a vital role in shaping religious movements.
You're absolutely right. Prophets are those individuals who claim to receive divine messages,
Right.
often delivering warnings, pronouncements, or predictions about the future.
And they often emerge during times of crisis or change, don't they?
Yeah.
Like they're offering a new path forward, a new way of understanding the world.
Exactly. Think of figures like Moses receiving the 10 Commandments, or Jesus proclaiming the coming of the kingdom of God. They challenge the status quo, call for reform, and inspire new ways of thinking.
It's a powerful concept.
Yeah,
But interpreting prophecy can be a tricky business, can't it?
it can.
The language of prophecy is often symbolic and metaphorical,
Right.
open to multiple interpretations.
Yeah.
And how do you know a true prophet from a false one? That seems like a tricky distinction to make.
It is a challenge.
Yeah.
And it's a debate that has played out within religious communities throughout history. It often boils down to whether their message resonates with people,
Right.
whether it aligns with existing beliefs,
Okay.
and whether it seems to be validated by events.
It's like trying to decode a message from another realm,
Yeah,
trying to separate divine inspiration from human fallibility.
exactly.
Now, alongside prophets, we also have priests. Those individuals who serve as intermediaries between the human and divine in a more ritualistic context.
Exactly.
Their roles and responsibilities vary widely across different religions and cultures, don't they?
They do. Some priests are hereditary figures.
Okay.
Their positions passed down through family lines.
Mm.
Others are chosen based on their spiritual insights or their mastery of ritual practices.
Right.
And their status within society can range from highly respected figures of authority to more humble servants of the community.
It's a fascinating spectrum of roles and responsibilities.
It is.
But how do their roles differ from those of magicians or shamans?
Ah,
There seems to be some overlap there.
that's a great question.
Yeah,
The distinction can be subtle, and sometimes their roles do intertwine.
right.
But generally speaking, priests are associated with established religious institutions and official doctrines.
Okay.
They represent the established order,
Hmm.
sanctioned pathways to the divine.
So they're the keepers of the flame, so to speak,
Yeah.
upholding the traditions and teachings of the faith.
Right.
What about magicians and shamans?
Okay.
Where do they fit into this spectrum?
Magicians and shamans often operate on the fringes of society
Right.
or outside of official religious structures. Okay.
They might be seen as independent practitioners,
Right.
drawing on their own personal power or connection to the spirit world.
Okay.
They might use spells, charms, trances, or spirit possession to achieve their goals, offering an alternative pathway to the divine, one that doesn't always conform to the established norms.
It's like they're tapping into a different current,
Yeah,
a more primal and unpredictable source of spiritual power.
exactly.
Now, regardless of whether it's through priests, magicians, or shamans, one practice that seems to be universal is the act of sacrifice.
Oh, absolutely. Sacrifice, the offering of something precious to the gods or spirits, whether it's food, animals, or even human life.
It's hard to imagine that now.
I know, it's a practice woven into the fabric of human history, found in virtually every culture and religion.
But what drives people to make such offerings?
Mm.
Why would they give up something valuable?
Yeah.
Sometimes even something as precious as a human life.
It's about establishing a relationship with the supernatural world.
Communicating with the gods or spirits, and seeking their favor. Sometimes it's about appeasement, seeking to avoid their wrath or to secure their blessings. Other times, it's an expression of gratitude, thanking them for the gifts they've received.
It's like acknowledging their dependence on those forces,
Yeah.
their need for guidance and protection.
Exactly.
And the act of sacrifice can also be a way to cleanse oneself,
Hmm.
to atone for wrongdoing,
Okay.
or to restore balance and harmony. It's a way of recognizing a debt owed to the divine or of seeking forgiveness for transgressions.
It's a powerful concept.
It is.
And while human sacrifice is thankfully rare in the modern world,
Yes.
the concept of sacrifice continues to resonate in many religions.
It's true. Think about the Christian concept of Jesus' sacrifice on the cross, or the Islamic practice of animal sacrifice during the Hajj. These acts are imbued with symbolic meaning, reminding us of the ultimate sacrifice made for humanity's salvation.
It's a powerful reminder that our relationship with the divine has often been framed in terms of reciprocity. We give to receive, we appease to avoid wrath, we atone to restore balance.
Okay, so we've talked about sacrifice.
Yeah.
What about rituals more broadly?
Okay.
They seem to be a central element of religious life.
Rituals, those formalized actions, often repetitive and symbolic,
Right.
that are performed to connect with the divine, to mark important life transitions, or to express religious beliefs.
It's like a language of action,
Yeah.
a way to express what words sometimes cannot.
Exactly. Think of the elaborate ceremonies of the Catholic Mass, the rhythmic prayers of Islam, the meditative practices of Buddhism, or the purification rituals of Shintoism. Each tradition has its own unique repertoire of rituals,
Right.
but they all serve to structure religious experience and to provide a tangible way to engage with the sacred.
It's like creating a bridge between the physical and spiritual worlds, using actions and symbols to connect with something greater than ourselves.
And rituals can be both communal and personal.
Right.
They can involve large gatherings of people, like religious festivals or processions, or they can be more private and intimate, like daily prayers or offerings made at a home altar.
It's about creating a sacred space,
Yeah,
whether it's a grand temple or a quiet corner of your home.
absolutely.
Now, certain rituals are given special significance within religious traditions and are elevated to the status of sacraments.
Sacraments, those sacred rites that are believed to convey divine grace or to transform the individual on a spiritual level. In Christianity, for example, baptism and the Eucharist are considered sacraments.
Can you explain the significance of those sacraments in a bit more detail?
Of course, baptism symbolizes spiritual rebirth,
Okay.
cleansing the individual from sin and marking their entry into the Christian community.
Okay.
It's a ritual washing away of the old self and an emergence into a new life of faith.
Right.
And the Eucharist, also known as Holy Communion or the Lord's Supper, involves the sharing of bread and wine, which are believed to become the body and blood of Christ. It's a powerful symbol of unity and connection with the divine sacrifice of Jesus,
Right.
a way to participate in his redemptive act and to nourish one's spiritual life.
It's remarkable how these rituals can create such a profound sense of connection with something beyond the material world.
I know.
It's like tapping into a deeper layer of reality,
Yeah.
a realm of meaning and significance that transcends the everyday.
It's a testament to the power of symbol and ritual to evoke those deep layers of human consciousness and to create truly transformative experiences.
Now, alongside sacraments,
Okay.
another practice that transcends religious boundaries is pilgrimage,
Oh,
the journey to a sacred site,
mm-hmm.
often involving hardship and sacrifice.
Exactly. Pilgrimages are undertaken for a variety of reasons, whether it's to fulfill a religious duty,
Okay.
to seek healing or forgiveness, to connect with a specific deity,
Right.
or simply to deepen one's faith. It's about stepping out of their ordinary lives and embarking on a journey with a spiritual purpose.
It's like a physical manifestation of their spiritual yearning, a way to connect with the divine in a more tangible way.
I like that.
What motivates people to undertake these journeys?
Many things.
Like what?
To fulfill a religious duty, to seek healing or forgiveness, to connect with a specific deity, or simply to deepen their faith.
Okay.
It's about stepping out of their ordinary lives and embarking on a journey with a spiritual purpose.
It's like a physical and spiritual adventure rolled into one, a test of faith and endurance.
It can be pilgrimage routes, often develop over time, marked by shrines, temples, or natural features. Each step along the way becomes infused with symbolic meaning.
It's like following a spiritual map,
It is.
tracing the footsteps of those who have come before.
Exactly. And the act of pilgrimage itself can be transformative.
Okay.
It's a test of faith, a stripping away of comfort and familiarity, and a surrender to the unknown.
What kind of practices do pilgrims engage in along these routes?
They might engage in prayer, chanting, fasting, or acts of charity.
Okay.
It's about purifying the body and mind and preparing oneself for a deeper encounter with the divine.
It's like a spiritual boot camp,
Yeah.
a way to strip away the distractions of everyday life and focus on what truly matters.
A great way to put it. Now, some individuals take the pursuit of spiritual growth to an even more extreme level, embracing the path of asceticism.
Asceticism.
Yeah.
Okay.
The practice of self-denial and rigorous discipline, often involving the renunciation of worldly possessions and pleasures.
It's a path that demands incredible willpower and dedication.
It certainly does.
Right.
Ascetics seek to purify themselves, to overcome worldly attachments, and to achieve a higher state of spiritual consciousness. Their motivations vary. Some believe the body is a hindrance to spiritual growth. Others see it as a way to cultivate humility, and still others believe that denying worldly desires can lead to a heightened spiritual awareness.
It's like a deliberate stripping away of the material world to focus on the spiritual,
Exactly.
a purification process through self-denial.
Precisely. And asceticism can take many forms, from celibacy and fasting to more extreme practices of self-mortification.
It's definitely not a path for everyone, but it highlights the lengths to which people will go in pursuit of spiritual transformation. Speaking of spiritual transformation, another practice that aims to cultivate spiritual awareness is meditation.
Meditation, the practice of quieting the mind and focusing inward. It's a technique found in various forms across cultures and religions. It can be as simple as focusing on the breath, or as complex as visualizing intricate mandalas.
It's like a universal toolkit for exploring the inner landscape of the mind and quieting the incessant chatter of thoughts and emotions.
Beautifully said. And the goals of meditation can range from stress reduction and mental clarity to profound spiritual insight and even a sense of union with the divine.
It's like a journey from the surface of the mind to its depth, from the everyday chaos to a place of stillness and clarity. Have you ever tried meditation?
I have. It can be challenging at first, but with practice, you can really start to tap into that inner stillness and clarity.
And it's through that exploration of inner space that many people report encountering mystical experiences.
Mystical experiences, those moments of transcendence that defy description, often involving a sense of oneness with something greater than oneself. They've been reported across cultures and throughout history, shaping religious beliefs and inspiring countless works of art and literature. It's like catching a glimpse of another dimension of reality, a direct encounter with the divine or the ultimate ground of being.
It's almost like those moments validate the entire spiritual journey. But I imagine integrating such an experience back into everyday life can be a challenge.
Absolutely. It can be disorienting, like stepping outside your normal frame of reference. It takes time to process and integrate those experiences.
It's like trying to fit the infinite into the finite. Now, before we wrap up our deep dive into the world of religion, I want to touch on one more theme that we've seen woven throughout different traditions: the search for meaning and purpose.
It's a fundamental human drive, isn't it? This desire to understand our place in the universe and to find something that gives our lives significance.
Absolutely. We've seen how different religions approach this search in a myriad of ways, from the intricate cosmologies of the ancient world to the personal quests for enlightenment in Eastern traditions, to the emphasis on faith and divine revelation in Western religions.
And despite their differences, they all offer frameworks for understanding the world and our place within it. They provide narratives, rituals, and practices that help us make sense of life's mysteries and find a sense of purpose.
It's like each tradition offers a different lens through which to view the world, a different path to connect with something larger than ourselves.
And ultimately, it's up to each individual to find the path that resonates with them, the beliefs and practices that speak to their heart and soul.
Well said. What a fascinating journey through the world of religion. We've covered so much ground, from ancient burial rituals to complex philosophies, from the power of ritual to those mind-blowing mystical experiences.
It's been an incredible exploration of the human spirit and our endless search for meaning.
Absolutely. A huge thank you to you for guiding us through this vast and intricate landscape. It's been an enlightening and inspiring journey. And for our listeners, we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and left you with some food for thought. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking those answers that resonate with your own heart and mind.